Picture this. It's 2013, and one of America's most beloved retailers is finally coming to Canada. The excitement is off the charts. It was supposed to be this huge triumph, but instead, it became one of the most spectacular, jaw-dropping failures in modern retail history. Okay, let's get into the incredible story of Target Canada. And you really can't overstate the hype. I mean, for years, any Canadian who had ever gone cross-border shopping and visited a Target in the US was basically begging for this to happen. The brand had so much goodwill and expectations were just completely through the roof. So how on earth does all that excitement, all that anticipation just completely curdle and turn into a total shutdown in only 2 years? Well, that is the big question here, and let me tell you, the answers are a masterclass in what not to do. So, the story kicks off with an incredibly bold, super aggressive strategy. Target wasn't just, dipping a toe in the water to test things out. Oh no, they decided to do a full-on cannonball into the Canadian market. And they did it by snapping up over 200 store leases from a retiring retailer, Zellers. And on paper, this looks like a genius move, right? Why bother building a bunch of new stores from the ground up when you can just take over these existing spots and flip them almost overnight? The whole plan was about one thing: speed. Get big and get big fast. They wanted to be a dominant force from day one. But, and you can probably guess where this is going, that brilliant plan slammed headfirst into a very, very harsh reality. That amazing, beloved Target experience that all of Canada was waiting for, it wasn't there when the doors finally opened. And this wasn't a slow burn. The disconnect was instant. It was jarring. You had shoppers pouring in expecting that classic American Target they knew and loved. The well-stocked aisles, the cool, stylish products, and those famously great prices. Instead, they were greeted by, a bit of a shock. We're talking bare aisles, completely inconsistent inventory, and some serious sticker shock. So this wasn't just one problem. It was two critical failures working together in perfect, disastrous harmony. This fatal combination completely destroyed what Target was all about. I mean, think about it. You can't be the go-to place for great deals if you have nothing to sell and what you do have costs way too much. Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty here. Let's break down the core mistakes that led to this absolute disaster. Because it really wasn't just one single thing, but more like a cascade of strategic errors that doomed the whole operation right from the very start. The first huge mistake was the strategy itself, that super aggressive nationwide launch. By opening so many stores so incredibly quickly, they just created total operational chaos. Every little problem got amplified across the entire country because there was simply no time to test, learn, and fix things on a smaller scale first. And right at the heart of that chaos was the engine of the whole business, the supply chain. And folks, that engine wasn't just sputtering. It was completely and utterly broken. This right here was the single biggest reason for all of those sad, empty shelves. So what does a supply chain collapse actually mean? Well, get this. The warehouses were apparently full of products, but the brand new, totally untested inventory system they were using was so flawed that it couldn't get the right goods to the right stores. The data was a mess. Employees couldn't even find products that the computer system insisted were in the building. It was a nightmare. On top of not being able to find products, any customer who did manage to find something for sale was hit with the next major flaw. Canadian shoppers expected prices pretty similar to what they saw in the US. Instead, a lot of items were significantly more expensive, which just completely erased that great deal reputation that is so central to the Target brand. And all of this really points to the final, and maybe biggest, strategic error, a fundamental misunderstanding of the market. Target just assumed the love for its American brand could be copied and pasted right into Canada without any real changes. And that was a huge miscalculation. They failed to realize that retail is incredibly local. They completely underestimated established competitors like Walmart, who were already experts in the Canadian market and were already beating them on both price and having stuff on the shelves. So Target didn't show up as this powerful new disruptor. It showed up as a weaker, more expensive, and less reliable alternative. Not a great first impression. The consequence of all these fatal flaws wasn't some slow decline. It was a rapid, absolutely shocking collapse. The scale and the speed of this failure were just breathtaking. I mean, just look at this timeline. It's wild. The first stores opened their doors in 2013. By early 2015, the entire Canadian division is gone. Just 2 years. From a massive grand opening to a sad grand closing. It's truly one of the fastest flameouts in corporate history. And we can't forget the very real human cost of this strategic failure. This wasn't just about financial losses on a balance sheet. Over 17,000 people lost their jobs when Target decided to pull the plug. So, what can we learn from this massive corporate wreckage? Well, the story of Target Canada offers some incredibly clear and powerful lessons about business strategy and, more importantly, how not to expand. First, readiness comes first. Speed is dangerous if you're not actually ready for it. Second, your supply chain isn't just logistics, it's the absolute core of your strategy. Third, you have to adapt the brand. A great brand in one country isn't automatically great in another without some serious localization. And finally, and maybe most importantly, you have to meet customer expectations, because once you break that trust, it is almost impossible to get it back. In the end, I think this quote just says it all. Target didn't fail because Canada rejected it. It failed because it just wasn't ready. The Canadian market was ready and waiting with open arms. The real tragedy here is that Target simply wasn't ready for Canada. And that's a powerful reminder that ambition without execution is the fastest route to failure.